Diomaye Faye, president of Senegal, has delivered his speech at the Paris 2024 Olympic. Now he's invited by the President Macron and the president of the Olympic in France. So let's see what he has delivered, and we will come back to reflect on that. So before the video starts, then I would like to give credit Africa Brazana to for having this footage and for making it available the English version. So let's go.
Mr. President of the French Republic, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, dear colleagues, heads of state and government, Mr. President of the IOC Executive Committee, dear members of the Olympic movement, ladies and gentlemen. At the beginning of my speech, I would like to thank President Emmanuel Macron and Mr. Thomas Bach, President of the IOC Executive Committee, for their kind invitation to this Summit of Sustainable Development Games in the run-up to the Olympic Games in Paris in 2024. I extend to France, the host country, and to the Olympic movement my best wishes for success for this meeting of world sporting excellence and human fraternity. By gathering here under the seal, under the banner of Olympism, we are keeping alive the ancient tradition of the Olympic truce, celebrating the ideals of peace, security and mutual understanding between peoples. This tradition reminds us that sport is not just competition. It is also a humanity that brings people together beyond their borders and their differences. This is the whole meaning of the resolution of the United Nations General Assembly on building a peaceful and better world through sport and the Olympic ideal. However, it is clear that the Olympic ideal is today being severely tested by the tragedy of war. Violence in all its forms and ever-increasing inequalities within and between nations. Ladies and gentlemen, this summit, which is part of the continuity of the Paris Pact for Peoples and the Planet and the prospect of the Summit of the Future next September in New York, calls on us to urgently work more resolutely to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Inspired by the Olympic ideal, our meeting should sound the awakening of conscience on the persistent inequities of a historically outdated world. If we want things to change, we must change the rules of the game. I am thinking of tax evasion, abusive tax holidays and other illicit financial flows that deprive our countries of resources vital to financing development. I think of the nagging issue of fair and equitable debt treatment and the biased risk rating system for assessing financing for Africa. I think of the unfair conditions of the energy transition, when some partners prohibit financing abroad of fossil fuel resources including gas while they themselves continue to use much more polluting sources such as coal. I think of the architecture of global economic, political and financial governance inherited from the Second World War, whose composition of bodies and decision-making processes no longer reflect the realities of our time. On many occasions, and rightly so, the Secretary-General of the United Nations has warned of the risk of fragmentation of an obsolete and non-inclusive international system. Clearly, a system that perpetuates the status quo and ignores the legitimate needs of its vast majority creates the seeds of its questioning and the search for alternative paths. The transformation of the BRICS group into the broader global south shows how much the international system is contested and how urgent it is to reform it to make it more inclusive, fairer, and more transparent in the understood interest of all. Reform is possible if we put the necessary political will into it. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 years, Senegal will host the first Olympic event in Africa with the Youth Olympic Games. This is an honor that we share with our continent. Thank you to President Thomas Bach and thank you to the IOC members for the unanimous choice of Senegal to host this historic meeting of world youth. In accordance with the agreed commitments, we are preparing the event taking into account 3 imperatives. First, the co-construction between the state, the IOC and the National Organizing Committee under the dynamic leadership of Mr. Mamadou Diagne Ndiaye, President of the Senegalese National Olympic Sports Committee. Then, the control of public spending by prioritizing the rehabilitation and upgrading of existing infrastructure to host the competitions. Finally, the reinforced monitoring of security, accommodation, transport, catering and health issues among others. I thank the IOC and all the partners who are supporting us to make this Olympic first in Africa, a celebration of the world's youth and the collective success of which we will all be proud. I take the opportunity to draw the summit's attention to the unbearable scourge of racism and racial discrimination that continues to plague sport in a context of trivialization of hateful and xenophobic speech. In the face of racism, and racial discrimination, we must remain upright and uncompromising. This is how we will be able to better protect the cardinal values of Olympism and celebrate together its magnificent motto Siccus Altius Fortius. Thank you for your kind attention.
Well, in his speech, he has raised, first of all, that he revealed Senegal is going to organize the first Olympic event of Africa in the next 2 years. So that's to be in 2026, right? So in that, it looks like the International Olympic Committee is going to support or help in terms of, Senegal preparing for that, building places that it will host different sports. So 2 important things that he raised. One is, of course, to minimize public spending. He said he will upgrade, Senegal will use upgrading the existing infrastructure already to minimize public spending. Secondly, racism in sports that he condemned. I was really excited. Will he say that or not? So that's really a plus. It's good. And racial discrimination, yeah, exactly. And he repeated it to give it an emphasis. He repeated that sentence twice. So kudos for that. But in terms of, Diomaye Faye being in France, what our concern is that it's good what he gives a speech. I really hope that if he can address more in terms of sport and other things that are the opportunities that are denied for Africa so far, why it's not is elected or selected to prepare Olympic. So not only racism against our players, but African players, but also in terms of racism in general, Africa being not selected, to organize international events, because all those, whether it's European country or whatever, they get a support once they are elected, once they are selected to host such events. And Another thing is, again, what's very important for Africans, it remains to be that what is he's going to be discussing with President Emmanuel Macron when it comes to the real issues that that are touching and that are really concerning the Senegalese people, because right now the Senegalese people or the Senegalese youth, what they are demanding is not really to host Olympic in their country, but what they are demanding is Senegal's break away immediately with its colonial past, and that is being France. Right now, the main concern of Senegalese youth is again number two is not to host the Olympic in their country, but it is rather to get that complete independence and for Senegal to be part of the alliance of the Sahel states. If not part of the alliance of the Sahel states, at least they want their leaders, that the leaders that they elected, to show a support for these countries. Those are the things for now after assessing Diomaye Faye for 100 days in power. Those are the things they are demanding. They are already on the street. It's not that Diomaye Faye are going to, again, for the second time in 1 month, to its colonial past, God knows for what. Now, the meetings that now between Diomaye Faye and Emmanuel Macron, which will happen, private meeting, should be disclosed. He should say things that he discussed with Emmanuel Macron and let the Senegalese people know. It's the people that have elected him, so it's his allegiance, due allegiance is to the Senegalese people, not to France. Whatever deal he has made, it just doesn't concern. It is the people that will make you to stay in power. It's not your colonial past, or it's not your former colonizer, or even now it's still who colonizes you, neo-colonialism. 70% of the economy of France is the economy of Senegal is controlled by France. So those are the things the Senegalese youth wants from you, the Gen Z of Senegal wants from Diomaye Faye. And above all, also, we would like to know, where is Osman Sonko in all this? He's out of the picture. I mean, yes, allegedly there is a tension between Osman Sonko and Diomaye Faye, and we all can suspect and speculate what that can be because of some surprising moves by President Diomaye Faye. But still, I want to give it the benefit of the doubt to Diomaye Faye, and let's see if he's really, I don't know what kind of game he's playing, but what we know is that this kind of game has led to heads of states, to different heads, African heads of states, to fail. You cannot use just diplomacy. Diplomacy have not led to anywhere. You have had the whole 60 years example of your own country and other African countries. Look at your neighboring countries of the AES. That's why they have to revolutionize, because they have seen it doesn't work. This electoral democracy, diplomacy, that's what actually has been used as an instrument to continue with neocolonialism. Let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this? Hello, Charles Dupre, Rahim, Osie Okma. This may have been what the private meeting in the previous meeting was about. What he will forget as an individual from an event like this will put him in the millionaire class. Yeah, he thinks that by bringing this Olympic to Senegal, it's not an answer. We want something else. That's what they want. It's not that this guy Nigeria did this and it was a waste of money. Thank you. Also, send me an email what really Nigeria did with regards to that. Yeah, other than that, I don't see any other new comments. Yeah, Faye, exactly. This is what I said. Faye has to be given actually a deadline how he's going to lead Senegal. I mean, I really like how they say we have assessed him 100 days, and this is why we come on the street when the Senegalese youth protested last week. But they have to give him a deadline. And we all have to know, where is Osman Sonko in all this? You don't see him giving. The first time we see him giving a speeches in the Dakar, which is more than a month in the Dakar University, okay? And at that speech, where he questioned, that's how it became a headline. We questioned the future of the existence of French military in Dakar. It's occupying 30% of the capital city. We are an independent country. We are a sovereign country. Why you are here? That's what he made. Imagine that he's making 3, 4, 5 speech. What he was gonna. I mean, probably that's the thing that made him to be out of the picture, so that they continue what they are continuing to do. I mean, we know there is a difference between the two. Osman Sonko is a very courageous man. He speaks his mind, and he's all about Pan-Africanism. I really don't know what France has made, what kind of deal they have made with um, with Diomaye. But time is the best thing. Time will reveal this. Time will tell. So we're gonna continue to watch this. Uh, Thank you very much. Hi, Yorubaland. Welcome. I will see you in the comment section, and I will see you on the next one. Tonight, myself and Kwame will come hard on Dangote and in Nigeria. So send us an email or drop your comment here, perhaps if there is anything you want to you want us to include. One of you have sent me an email with a very good interview. So I'm gonna have a look at that, and I will see you later. Ciao, ciao.